like a bunch of classes, including Feral Druid as well. And nowadays I roll Feral Druid, Prop Paladin, or Rogue, kind of like that. Those things currently.
All right, that's a good start. We usually have like a cringe slide that our guests have to get through too. So I'm gonna just get. He has never seen these questions before too, so it might be kind of funny. We already answered the first one, history with the games. Thanks for sharing with that. Next one would be, what class fantasy resonates with you the most? Since we're doing a class episode, it might be Druid, but maybe it isn't.
I mean, a Druid definitely speaks to me. It's more of a period thing. At some point, I might feel like I want to reenact a stealth guy and be Rekful, and then like feel like a rogue. The other time, I might want to like shift forms all the time and like have a very big toolkit to my disposal to play with. Then I'd be with Druid. The other time, I just want to be the tank guy and just do big pulls in dungeons and be the prop paladin, that kind of thing. So it's a period thing.
Yeah. Okay. What race resonates with you the most? Any?
Ooh, Taurens, for sure. Female. If you actually would speed up the female Tauren. Yes, mate. If you would like speed up the female Tauren dance, it actually could be like if you put some hardcore music on that would actually fit. That always made me laugh like 15 years ago.
They're rare femtor enthusiasts. You don't really see these too often, folks.
It's a rare breed.
A rare breed. Okay, favorite zone, favorite snack. Apologies if these are cringe, but it just kind of gets the blood
favorite
going in.
Zone. Fuck. Definitely the bank of Orgrimmar. The roof. Like, jump in between the things, right?
Okay. Favorite snack?
And favorite snack? Actually, I'm currently hyped on Blue Chips Corners. Like 380 calories for a whole bag, and it's like loaded with protein. So I'm definitely on that.
Hell yeah. Some really unique answers here so far. Favorite version of WoW?
Yeah, TBC by far.
See, why is that?
It's just, I think it's the perfect mix of small quality of life, viability of specs, and still feeling like an actual RPG. And yeah, that's why it interests so much. Like, there's just enough time/attunement gating that it feels okay to invest that much in your character and still get like enough reward for it,
Mm-hmm.
And you still feel your character actually like getting stronger, and that's such a good feeling. And also, a little thing that interests me about TBC is that along the patches and also in PvP, different things happen while the game doesn't get patched, right? Like, Feral, for example, DPS-wise, might need to like scale up a little bit and get some like tier things going. Or rogues need to get some gear. Or for tier 5, ranged are really good, and then at like tier 6, melee already all of a sudden get good. Like, some things kind of changes, and that keeps it really interesting.
So the meta shifts. I haven't heard that point before, whereas classic is kind of just like if you're a brown or yellow boy, you kind of just pump. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like in TBC that is a good mix. So as a guild, right, if you're talking guild management, you kind of like, if you only bring in your melee at the start of tier 6, tier 4 gear, right? So you kind of have a problem that you need to balance out like range and melee, and like when do I start gearing them up and all that stuff. So that's cool.
Hell yeah, my man. One final question and we're through it. What year would you visit? Future, present, past, and why? If you could.
I get this question actually a few times for job interviews, I think. And I would say none. The present. There's no day, like no other day than today, man.
Carpe diem. Seize the moment. Seize the day.
Whoa,
wow.
A little optimistic. A little too optimistic for us, bud.
That's deep.
You know what's the opposite of it? It's from the movie Office Space. Remember that one scene where that hypnotist guy is hypnotizing the dude, and he's like, he's asking him about his day, and he's like, well, each day of my life is worse than the last. And he's like, so today is the worst day of your life? And he's like, yeah, today is the worst day of my life. It's the opposite with Sam. Today is the best day of his life. Yeah.
I've known Sam for a little while now, and he's always super positive all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Ship's burning, and we're wiping a bunch. He's just still happy, man.
It's good, man.
Yes.
But yo, Crix, man, I mean, we've been talking a lot, so I don't feel like I'm like, I have to catch up with you. Crix has been putting us on the Endless server, man. It's been going down. How you feeling about things?
I'm feeling amazing. I'm excited.
So you got that
PvC
gladiator,
adventure.
Crix?
Yeah, that wasn't me, really me though. I'm gonna just use my lock. A friend of mine needed to use my lock to qualify.
Don't lie. Don't lie.
It was him. Crix is just humble. He just easily got Gladiator, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just blew it. No, it wasn't me, dude. You'll know. Hey, you'll know when I get Gladiator because I'll make sure everybody in the world fucking knows I got Gladiator. Okay.
Crix is a great human being, Chad. I hope you guys give him his stream a chance. Just awesome. But I'll spare you that. And okay, so let's get into it. I mean, Shrifty has already done this intro, so it's not like we're being rude to him, guys. Again, Shrifty's just like a brother at this point. So, all right. Any TBC news to report? We usually cover that if there is anything. I don't know if there's been any developments. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't. I don't think we've had an episode since the whole Stay Safe thing, right?
Oh yeah, we did. We had the holiday episode, right? We were talking about it a bit, with the.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe in some light TBC news, we spent 2 hours of our raid progressing Reliquary of Souls in Black Temple. That's a cool thing. It's a little joke. Because we suck.
Okay.
I thought that fight is considered like a free fight in BT, right? Or no? That,
well, let's say
ROS?
that
No.
the current server that I'm playing on has some tweaks in, which pretty much makes the mechanics like make or break, kind of. Like
that's the one where it's like the floating face, right? Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Crix got T6 belt. You'll have to see it. All right.
Yeah, I got T6 belt this week, baby.
Yeah. If anyone missed it, there was that BlizzCon survey that came out again. Stay Safe put out a video or two. There's the TBC hype is in the air. You can cut it in the air. It's tangible. It's about that
definitely.
time,
like I've actually had multiple guild leaders from Classic and some friends saying that they don't consider themselves a Classic guild anymore. From now on, they're a TBC guild and they're prepping that way.
Ooh.
Which is hella interesting, right?
Yeah.
Who's doing that?
Like multiple classic players.
Oh yeah.
To. And also
my
like
guild's
one in
doing it
particular,
too.
like one guild leader like setting up his management like.
Yeah, I came back to the game specifically to prepare for TBC as much as I could, so I'm right there.
A lot of people are switching Pryos over too now. I mean, at some point you got to switch Pryos over because Pryos swap. Like a lot of stuff that Shamans and Shadow Priest should never be able to get with the proper Pryos and Nax with classic Pryos, but they should be proud for that TBC. And I think Guild should definitely be doing that.
And for anyone who still is playing Classic, there's definitely some items that will just make your leveling easier, but some items that you'll actually still use in raids. So, I mean, I'm sure there's content around that. But
get that Nax trinket from the factory, right? Like,
that's exactly it.
I didn't even have that as a slide, bro. We're making a new slide for that one.
Yeah, that thing has been a lot of fights for a while.
Ironically, Druid is I have not done Druid or Pal yet on the Classic PvC gear.
Still good. I'm making a slide. Classic stuff that is still good. TBC.
As Sam said, the phylactery is probably the most relevant.
Okay, we'll get into that.
That, like, maybe not so much in Tier 4 or Tier 5 yet, but once you step foot in Tier 6, like, Black Temple Summit Plateau, like that.
No, it works for undead and demons, so you've got at least
that's
more than half of Kara is either. There's about 3 undead bosses.
All but four bosses are undead demon and Karazhan.
Yeah, so
almost all of Mount Hydril, more than half of Black Temple, almost all of Sunwell.
And you got Mag, so even in just Tier 4, there's a good amount of content that it'll be really good for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like, that trinket is on par with Tier 6 trinkets, like, or even better. So it's nuts to get it straight away, level 60.
Yeah, if you're in a guild, make that your loot prio if you care about BC, and fuck the other stuff that you'll replace anyway.
I'm so glad I got Black Book on my Warlock. I got it early, and people were calling me so stupid, Crix, when I like,
you rolled on it.
Yeah, I just love that item so much, and then it actually turns out to pump in TBC, so I actually have it all set up on my Warlock.
The book scales up to 70, or what do you mean?
Yeah, it makes your pet go berserk.
It goes transfer spell power to attack power on the Felguard. The last 2 items I got before quitting Classic, unironically, were Black Book and Tier. No,
hell yeah. Warlocks will pay their guild any amount of money to go back and do BWO because you still can't solo it, But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Today we are going to unpack the Druid, folks. Who's excited? Anybody alive in the chat?
I love Druid. I know nothing about it, but I bet you Graze is pumped. Where's Graze at?
Oh, right. Yeah, I guarantee he's in the chat. Someone add him.
Wait, Chris, you know a ton of stuff because your partner was a Druid.
Yeah, that was just Juice partner. When I got
all he knows is he kept him alive.
I've only pushed the 2K with the Druid, rest of the Druid. And all I know is, I know enough to where, like, Feral Charge and Sec format, but Swift you'll know more on the PvP front than me. All I do is just get the guests, Cargos host it, and you guys talk, baby. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it's a beautiful formula, my friend. Teamwork makes the dream work. So, yeah, we can do. There's probably more stuff we're missing here, but we're just trying to unpack a lot of material here, so we can go over class changes between Classic and TBC. I know Sam didn't play a Druid in Classic; he's more of the TBC specialist, so Swifty might know a bit on there. What changes between the two. We'll talk about maybe the roles, plural, in PvE and in PvP. We can go over the talents, any talents, noteworthy talents, anything that sticks out, gold making options, tips and tricks, and anything else that comes to mind. This is really your show. Chris and I are just vessels here, so
I'm so excited because I've recently started playing a priest and it's super fun, and Wrestle Druid's the next one I'm going to play, so I'm going to soak all this up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for this chat interaction when we're explaining things, bro. Like,
oh yeah,
when people get excited and like,
questions.
yeah, that's cool.
So let us begin with class changes. Really try to reflect, Swifty, here. Back on Classic and your experience, us dueling in Winter Spring and all the shenanigans we got into in Invictus.
A lot of big old changes, really big buffs for the Druid. It's actually, there's only a few changes, but they're all so big that it feels really big. So I think right at the top of the list, you have to cover these two spells, and people probably know. I'll do one, Sam, and you can say the other because you'll know too. Right? First, number one is Life Bloom. Druids go from being kind of a scuffed vanilla healing because they're the only class without like a flash heal, right? Paladins have Flash of Light, Shamans have Lesser Healing Wave, and Priests have Flash Heal. Druids have no fast cast heal. So even though Healing Touch is a very high mana efficient heal, it's very slow. So it's not good for raid healing, it's only good for tank healing. And while Rejuve can be good, they don't stack, meaning having multiple Druids can be bad, so you're kind of limited to one. And although in Nax, Rejuve spamming is proving to be like effective, overall Druids just kind of feel like a scuffed healer. But in TBC you get Life Bloom. So Life Bloom, it ticks every second instead of every 3 seconds, which is pretty huge because since heal over times are meant to be sort of like a cushion, having them tick constantly is going to be a lot more reliable than Rejuve, where you're waiting maybe 3 seconds at most before you feel anything. So it stacks up to 3 times on a target. Each time will increase the healing per second. At the end of the heal, it's going to do a flat, fat heal. Now, that flat, fat heal also happens if the Life Bloom is dispelled, which is really relevant in PvP. But that's the first big thing. And because it lasts for 6 seconds, then I believe there's a way to increase that later with a certain raid set. You can, as a Resto Druid, you can keep that up on multiple tanks. So if you wanted to, just focus on both of your tanks, you could keep 3 stacks of Life Bloom and Rejuve and Swift Mend while still keeping all of that up. And so that makes it amazing. Sam, you want to talk about the other massive Druid spell that I don't even need to say?
Before we go on with Light Bloom too, Sam might have some stuff on Light Bloom, and for me, so I played a Druid on, in a TBC private server kind of recently, and out of all the spells, the one that was the most of acquired taste, I would say, if that even makes sense. You become like a connoisseur of the Druid class. You're just like, mwah, Druid. It was the Life Bloom. Now they kept telling me, yo, you need to keep Life Bloom on me, bro. Like he kept kind of getting pissed. Like, yo, where's the Life Bloom at? You need to just have like a steady. It's like an IV drip of Life Bloom all the time.
It's massive.
I can add to that. Like that one spell is what makes you bring the Resto Druid to a raid.
Ooh, why is that?
And because, like what Swifty says, right? Like, it's a cushion. So let's assume that you have a Holy Paladin, typically, on a raid, on a tank healer, right? So that's about, every 2 or 2.5 seconds, there's a 3k heal coming in. Well, let's say that boss, tanks takes more damage, and they maybe get, a second hit really fast, or a mechanic that, AoE damage. A Druid actually makes those chunks of healing every time you, go back. Actually, the thing that makes, for example, monks tanks really good in retail is that they have this stagger, right? And Druids kind of have the same role like that. They kind of stagger the damage because they even it out. Instead of their graph going down, it goes more linear. And that's what you have as a Druid. And what Swifty says, you can have 2 tanks fully hotted, or you can have, in certain situations, you can have 3 tanks with full 3 stacks of Life Bloom, and you just literally have your mouse going tick, 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 and you have all 3 buffs up, and that's so much healing.
Beautiful.
What's really interesting with that, too, is your rotation totally changes based on how many tanks you're keeping up. But it's very, very tight timing windows when you're dealing with, keeping up these Life Blooms. And yeah, like Navik told you, Cargos, if you drop the Life Bloom stacks, accidentally, it's a huge, power loss. And, the good Resto Druids and the great ones, you actually have a really interesting healing roll in TBC because of your tight windows and, like, real min-maxing.
Exactly. And it's actually a double lose, right, Thrifty? Because if you have those 3 stacks up and you drop them, you start over with 1. But if you try to, like, restack that 3 immediately, you drop off the other guy's stacks. So, and it's also mana intensive. Instead of doing 2 life blooms every 6 seconds, you need to, like, cast 4 all of a sudden. And that's, very hard on your mount.
Yeah, you're exactly. You're going to have to bounce back and forth, and then your rejuves probably fell off, which means you've also lost the opportunity to swift mend. Like, letting a life bloom fall prematurely is a huge loss in mana and time.
It's super efficient, like HPME standpoint, I think, too, right? I mean, if you chime in here,
oh,
if
yeah.
this is wrong.
I expect a good Tree of Life Druid to be right up there in the top parsers with, like, the Circle of Healing Priest, just because of how much tank healing they're doing.
But is Life Bloom in particular, is it really efficient from, like, just a healing per mana standpoint?
Yeah, it might be the most efficient. Keeping up 3 stacks of Life Bloom, I think, probably is by far the most efficient.
And the fact that it takes 1 second is a big deal. Agony is like a dot, right? It's on the other end of it, but it takes every 2 seconds, and it feels so good that it takes every 2 seconds as opposed to every 3 seconds. I feel like stuff normally ticks every 3. I don't know, but...
Yeah, most dots and hots are 3.
Yeah. 3. So every 1 second is beautiful. And then the other aspect of it, is just to unpack further, what Sammy was saying is how you can have multiple Life Blooms running. In TBC, they made it so you can have multiple iterations of HOTS, right? That was not the case in Classic. You could only have 1 regrowth, one
so
rejuve.
you could potentially have 2 Resto Druids in the raid, and they can have all their HOTS up on 1 target.
Beautiful.
So they're not unique for the whole raid.
Yeah,
but
that's a huge
typically,
buff,
though,
too.
that's a huge buff, but typically you would only bring 1, so that doesn't really come into play much.
I mean, the thing is, 1 Resto Druid can keep up all those Life Blooms on your tanks, so you don't need a second. I don't think your comp would be scuffed with a second, but you're fine with 1, and you definitely wouldn't want more than 2. I feel like that's when it would start to feel scuffed.
I see. And the last thing I was going to say is that I don't know if there's any other spell in the game that works in this way, chat. Let's hear it if you can think of one where you have, like, delayed positive healing value, like some kind of delayed oh shit button, sort of, if that makes sense. And that's in the form of Life Bloom, that at the end of its duration or when it gets dispelled, it pops. And that's impactful in the sense that in Arena, it's all about CC chaining and stuff, right? You can very easily find yourself, like, in a triple clone or whatever it might be, and that heal is still going to pop on your ally, even if you're cloned, right? And I just can't think of anything else that functions quite in that way, which is a beautiful, amazingly well-designed thing.
If you're cloned, Life Bloom will still pop?
Yeah.
No, he means you can Life Bloom your ally. Like, he's saying it's good to use through while being CC'd. It's okay. Because it's a
except for Cyclone. Cyclone is the one
he meant, like,
we'll talk about.
Well, he means if yourself as a Resto Druid is getting CC, you still have that big fat heal coming in.
Imagine you're doing
since you said
warrior.
Cyclone, that's the other biggest Druid change.
Yeah. Just imagine you're doing 2s with the warrior, right, Crix? And you have Life Bloom on him, so you just have that on him no matter what, just rolling because it's super efficient. Yeah. And then if you do get cloned out of nowhere, you can still count that he's going to get saved a little bit from your pocket.
And whatever pots you have on him.
Yeah, and actually, Cargos, to add on that, if you look at the high-end PvPers, the warrior druids versus, like, rogue druid, a big thing in their strategy is, of the enemy druid, is, like, Cyclone when the Life Blooms are about to pop. And then when he comes out of Cyclone, the Life Blooms are not there anymore, and he can just Moral Strike, and the Druid needs to start over again. And then he falls behind. That's a big thing in PvP.
So you offensively Cyclone to prevent healing from popping. That's...
Yeah, like the Bloom is the most important thing in PvP, because it's not very often that you would do, like, maintain a 3 stack in PvP Arena. But you would do, like, the one just to let it bloom, because you kind of want that to do the healing. But at some point, you actually have, like, taking that much damage, and you can't do, like, a regrowth or anything. So you just have rejuve and Life Blooms to spend. At some point, the enemy druid will want to Cyclone you to prevent that bloom, so the warrior can reposition, and then, like, hit you with a Moral Strike, and like, the Life Bloom is off.
Makes sense, man.
Cyclone is also, like, he's saying, basically the best counter to Life Bloom, right? If you're against a druid and they stack those Life Blooms, you want to hit them with the Cyclone, which will prevent all of the healing from the Life Bloom, and it'll fall off while they're intangible, so they don't get any of the value.
I'm out of range.
Druids counter druids.
Druids are crazy, man. All I know about from a Warlock perspective is I love Life Bloom, because I know that's when I start tapping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, baby.
I got my partner says, all right, you're bloomed up, it means I can tap full. and then my health is right back at the end of it. And mid combat with a warrior on me, it's crazy. It's so much healing.
It's very efficient, you know, and even as like, you know, you're always gonna, if you're not a healer in arena, like if you're feral, you'll swap to the healer weapon for your life bloom stacking, and it'll snapshot.
Yeah. And Cargos, I think in your YouTube stream, somebody said it's like the heal version of Unstable Affliction, and that's quite like regarding the dispel factor.
Oh, yeah,
that's
true.
Right?
Yeah.
If
True.
you if you accept the silence, of course, but if you dispel like Vampiric Touch or Unstable Affliction, there's a negative side to that, and that's the same with Net Life Room.
It's like the inverse. Yeah, that's a good point. I like that.
Exactly.
So I have Cyclone pulled up here. Maybe just take it back a few steps. Like, what is it? It's kind of weird looking. You know, maybe if you never played DBC, you're like, how is this so good? You put them into like a whirlwind. Like, you know, is it like a root? You know, like what is a Cyclone effect? And just try to do like the basic if you can.
So it's basically like kind of like an immunity kind of thing. Like it's sort of a Pala's bubble in that sort of sense, but then offensively kind of thing. And it's basically it lasts 6 seconds, then about 3, and then 1.5 seconds, I think. Yeah. And a big thing in PvP, for example, is because everything when you cyclone somebody, the target is immune to anything, right? You can't mass the spell. You can't really get out of it except for a PvP trinket, right? And there's some certain cases where you actually want to use Cyclone in PvE as well. For example, in Black Temple. But going back to like just a spell, I'm not sure, Swifty. Is it regarded like a balance spell or like a nature spell?
It's a neutral.
Cyclone is you can nature swiftness it if that's what you're asking.
I'm wondering if you get interrupted in PvP, would you like get locked out of your healing spells?
I think it's nature.
It's nature.
Yeah.
Nature.
So your healing
once you kick it, they can't heal afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
All of
it's
your
nice.
spells
It's just a 6-second stun, pretty much. That you can't do nothing. Nothing can happen. You're just incapacitated for 6 seconds.
If you get kicked
any healing, you can't get any healing.
No, he's just saying if you get kicked out, you can't use any spells except like Starfire, but you can shift, of course.
Mm-hmm. That's arcane.
Yeah, it's pretty sick though. What Swifty said, how you can nature swiftness in, man. Nature swiftness is a classic as well, but that basically means if you ever get within range of a druid ever, like you can't even really outplay them. They literally just NS clone you, and then the CC chain shenanigans begins, man. But sorry, I think
it's the most annoying things to fight.
And it's a fun kind of thing, right? Because like it's powerful, but he would be giving up nature swiftness, which is a huge cooldown defensively as well, right? Mm-hmm. But if you come into the situation where you have pressure, but you see the enemy druid having 3 stacks of life bloom, and your warrior's like full rage about to like come in and like wreck him, but that life bloom and mortal strike is maybe not up, boom, nature swiftness, a cyclone is a big thing to do there.
Mm-hmm. One other thing. Oh, and then I just
actually Banish does the same thing, actually Banish does do kind of the same thing. You can't heal them in Banish and stuff like that. Actually,
it's the same type of CC as Banish.
You just can't use it on a player, but
You pretty much would never. You can banish a tree druid. Other than that, you're not really banishing much in PvP. besides pets.
Shifty, would you know how much what Diara shares with?
Yeah, it shares. So in the 2.43 patch, which is most people assume will be what we get, they did share it with Blind. The only reason because Druid Rogue is so freaking dominant. Good news is even after that, they still stayed really dominant, so it wasn't enough to nerf it badly. Oh, it reminds me what I was going to say though. So Cyclone lasts 6 seconds. You go out of combat after 6 seconds, which means you can sap people out of Cyclone, and people do it all the time. It does require a tight timing window, but if you set it up properly, you will see that.
Yes.
And it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing, what the standard arena play, let's say, because I think the sap of a Cyclone is kind of like a more of an advanced kind of timing window, I would say. Like the standard play a Resto Druid would do is like triple Cyclone and then wait for the diminishing returns to reset after like anywhere between 15 and 20 seconds, depends on what version we get. Is like you need to time that cast exactly when he's about to get out, but not enough so he can cast a spell, right? Mm-hmm. So if it lasts 6 seconds and it takes 1.5 seconds to cast, you kind of need to start at 1.49 seconds to start casting your second cyclone, so
Mhm.
it lands immediately after the 6 seconds is over.
It's a short amount of time. You can't do too much in it. Huh?
Yeah, I usually don't go. I guess if I usually don't go for third cyclones. I guess it depends on the circumstance. I'm sure there are circumstances where it's worth it, but for the most part, I typically don't bother with the 1.5 second duration cyclone because that's how long it took to cast. But it could be good, versus something like a paladin that has to hard cast basically all of their heals. It might be worth using just as an interrupt if you're that close. But
Yeah.
I think we covered Cyclone. Chad, if you have any other feedback, if you think we missed anything, definitely let us know.
You're gonna use it a lot in arena. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, dude.
Constantly.
BGs, everything.
It's so good offensively and defensively. Like, someone's got hots on them. You cyclone them so the hots don't tick. Someone's got, you want to get them out of the fight. You're cycloning them. I mean, it's something you'll cyclone around an arena over and over and over, basically.
And as you said, Swifty, like it only shares DRs with blind, right?
Right. I think
so. It's such a free spell to do. You don't really fuck up anything with it, right? And it also doesn't need a setup. You can literally just damage that, put dots on that shit, because Cyclone doesn't care. It's gonna apply anyway.
I would say the biggest way to fuck it up is if you're grouped with a Warlock and they load someone full of dots. You probably don't want to cyclone them. But other than that, it's hard to fuck.
Has that screwed you over before, Crix? Like you can actually a druid cyclone something and it messes you up big time.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my, don't trigger me right now. It'll be like I finally get UA full everything dotted up on this guy, and then they'll just clone him for no reason. It's the most annoying thing ever.
I see.
If you're playing with a Warlock, you definitely need to be more cognizant of that.
Okay, well, those are two of the major abilities here. I think we're doing good. It's nice having the, being able to pull it up and stuff.
Oh, maybe a little thing, Cargos.
Yeah.
I said something that would matter, usable in PvE as well, for the balance druids out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they feel kind of want to use Cyclone in PvE as well because they got CCs. Anytime when you expect a mob to do an AoE volley or anything, just pop that Cyclone. And in BT, there's a specific mob where if you do spells on him, he gets stacks and then at some point he explodes. You can actually just ignore that whole tactic. Just fucking nuke that thing. And then cyclone him at the end and it doesn't explode.
I see. One thing now that I'm visualizing that in practice too, being in a raid, how frustrating it is as a druid not being able to have on-demand CC if you're just a healer or something like that, right? You have roots, but you can't really use those in instances. They have to be out in the open world. For the first time, you have something you can just throw out there, right?
Exactly. Also, whenever somebody gets MC'd, in your raid, you're super scared your warrior's gonna cleave your ass, a rogue gonna blade fear your ass, a mage, arcane explosion, seed of corruption of a warlock. You can just pop Cyclone on that MC target. He's not gonna die. You're safe.
Yeah, that's a nice short C too, so you're not taking it. It doesn't need to be dispelled after the MC ends or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool spell. Also usable in chicken form. And chicken form in general, I think, is a bit more viable in TBC, which we can talk about in a little bit. The old any boomkins out there in the chat. Restokin is a spec that's legendary in the TBC world, where you're actually unironically a boom chicken playing at the highest level of PvP play, throwing out cyclones and roots because you can, and you're in bear form level armor. You'll love to see it.
At the same time, is there more on the feral point? Feral tanking. Is there any new abilities Is it Maim new or something like that? Or
Mangle baby.
Mangle baby. Let's bring up Mangle.
Holy shit! We just talked about Life Bloom, right?
It's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet. I can't cast that yet. That's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet. That's still recharging. spell isn't ready yet. That's still recharging. I can't cast that yet. That spell isn't ready yet. Time is money, friend. Have a good one. Talk to me. Yo! Glad I could help.
Safe travels. You need something? See you later. Good day to you. See you around. How are you? Have a good one.